All righty. Welcome. I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney coach and sorry, let me take my watch off and think about this separately. I am an attorney and legal coach based here in Seattle, Washington, serving online information entrepreneurs throughout the US and the world. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. I am so excited to welcome Estie Starr today. Welcome, Estie.
I'm so excited to be here.
So much fun. And remind me where you're coming in from.
Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles, right. You mentioned Mexico, and now my brain's in Mexico.
Because my soul is in Mexico.
And you will be there very soon.
I will be there very soon again. Yes.
So happy for you. So for those of you that don't know Estie Starr is an internationally acclaimed, award-winning business consultant and speaker. After a decade-long career in the nonprofit sector, she left her CIO job in 2011 to fulfill her business dream, serving small business owners who wanted to live theirs. The founder and owner of both Strand Consulting and the Better Business School, Estie helps small business owners earn their first million in new business. Estie has logged over 12,000 hours of one-on-one business coaching in the past 14 years, guiding thousands of micro business owners to transform their business ideas and dreams to fully scaled businesses with an average 300% profitability increase. Estie has been recognized as the winner of Best in LA Business Consultancy 2018. In 2019, her podcast Business Breakthrough was featured on NASDAQ as a top podcast to listen to. She is a featured contributor to Entrepreneur and the co-founder and co-host of the annual LinkedIn Influencer Summit. Welcome, Estie. So happy to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Yes, we're going to have a fun conversation. I know there's, so many folks in the small business building support space. Tell me what it is about the work that you do that you love.
I love the transformation from confusion to clarity. And that brings with it profits. It also saves a lot of wasted spend and time and energy. I'm a big efficiency person. I was a CIO for 6.5 years, so information systems, processes. For me, the way I work with my clients, when we do the consulting, it's the whole picture, but I became best known for our marketing work because it is foundational marketing principles. The more the world changes and everyone's just, running on this hamster wheel to keep up with the latest social media platform, SEO hack, like the principles are the things that don't change. They don't change, and you reapply them in every new thing. And so I love giving that gift to my clients and students. It's a piece of wisdom that they can apply everywhere, and it changes the game because their lack of success was always due to a hole in their knowledge that led them to do things wrong. And so when we fix that, then they get to do things right. It's always easier and less expensive than they were doing it before, and it works. That's what I love.
Awesome. Where did the focus come from? Talk to me about your roots and why the focus on small business.
So back in 2011, I was a CIO of a multinational nonprofit, and I would have stayed forever. I loved my boss. I loved my work. I had flex time, which was great. I had 3 little kids at the time. I now have 5 less little kids. And I just had this crazy dream. I wanted to do small business consulting. Part of it definitely came from working at a company that had a very low glass ceiling. And so they, at some point, hired a consultancy who told them all the same stuff that I've been telling them for years. But this consultancy they hired got listened to and got paid more than me. I'm like, wait, I'm in the wrong line of work. I know all these things. I understand. I told you all these things, but you didn't take me seriously and you paid me less. I should be doing something different. And I think that's where the seed was planted. And then, years passed, 2011 came along, and coming off the back of the 2008 recession. And I could overhear all these conversations. I'd be sitting in a cafe and hear these women talking like, oh my God, you're so talented. You should sell your cupcakes for $1. It'd be amazing. Such a good business. I'm like, oh my God. Like I've been running businesses profitably since I'm 10 years old. I went to business school. I always had side hustles. Like I can turn anything into money. Always. Always side hustles though. I was always into like little things because I'm not crazy. I have to have a job. I was the sole supporter of my family. And in 2011, leadership at the company changed. They hired this toxic middle manager who took my team, was like, you're my new secretary. I'm the new leaving person. And I went looking for another job. I was terrified where our money was going to come from. My husband at the time was still studying. And I just had this crazy dream. I wanted to do small business consulting. I knew I could help these people. It hurt me personally that I was struggling to find a job that would give me the money I wanted and the intellectual stimulation and the flexibility to raise my children who were little at the time. I couldn't find it. And I was seeing all these other women and men, young parents, who were having similar challenges, singles who were like going into drudgery work just to keep a roof over their heads, people who were incredibly talented, who were brilliant, who had incredible gifts to give the world, and just had no idea how to turn it into money. I'm like, I know how to turn it into money. I'm really good at this. I've always known. And that was my dream. And, you know, it took several years, but built a multinational consulting firm. We had staff and clients on 6 continents, 10 time zones from Los Angeles through Hong Kong. 3 departments. We started with just the consultancy, full service. So anything that a Deloitte McKinsey would do for a Fortune 500 company, we did for a small business and nonprofit. Typically solopreneurs up to 10, 20 employees, like really the little guys. And then as we grew and more people wanted our services and it wasn't affordable to everyone, we launched the online business school so that people would have more affordable options to learn. And it's hand-holding, right? So all of our business school courses come with hand-holding with coaching attached to it. And then we also had a full agency arm. That was insane. That one's resting right now. Put that to rest for a little bit. Because my motto is more money, less headache. And that branch of the company was more money, more headache. It was more money. It was profitable. It was just more headache. So much. I was like, there's so many people who do this so well. I don't need to. I do my thing really well. And that's strategy. Never done the same one twice. There's no cookie cutter here. There's no just do this, magic. It's like, no, these are the foundational principles and frameworks. Now, how do these apply to you in your business, in your industry, with your unique selling proposition, your unique assets and abilities, who your audience is, what your personality is, what you have in terms of staff and bandwidth and help. You are a unique little snowflake. So is your business. And so is your strategy. And taking it out of a can and pouring it out doesn't work anymore. Never did, by the way. If anything, it's always been a temporary plastic button. Everyone looks for the little marketing button that they can just press and magic comes out. And sometimes they find it, but it's made of cheap plastic. Press it enough times, the thing cracks and it breaks and it cannot be replaced. And then you go looking for another one. And those buttons are expensive and they don't last.
Right. Yeah, that marketing, I mean, we'll get to that. I am curious when you spotted, because at the beginning you said you love taking people from confusion to clarity, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you were spotting when you were like, oh my gosh, there's all these confused people running around? Share with me what your insights were, you know, at the time and what they've continued to be in regards to entrepreneurship and confusion. What are people getting wrong?
So I would say even then, and it's only gotten worse in the last 15 years. Like I left my job in 2011, but I was doing this on the side a little before. So I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. What happened then and now all the more is you get tons of conflicting advice and opinions because everyone's convinced that their tool, their method, their thing is the thing. And if you just do that, right, Shopify's like point, click, website, business, you don't need anything else, right? Everyone's like, get a funnel, make a funnel, be an author, make an author funnel. Of course, be a passive income millionaire. It's the cool girls MLM. Like it's, oh my gosh, like just sell Tupperware again. It's fine. You know, and everyone's got the thing. and they don't match and they don't sync. And then the financial coach tells you have to do this with your budgeting, but then the marketing person says, well, you must have a much bigger budget. And then you hire the person who used to work for Coca-Cola and Google, and they're now a small business consultant because they can't get Coke and Google to hire them. But guess what? You don't have the name recognition or the budget of Coca-Cola and Google. So hiring their former marketing employee isn't going to give you what you need. And nobody has a clue what they're doing. And it makes me so mad, and it made me mad already then, and it's only made me madder as the years have gone by, and it's gotten worse. Listen, I don't know how to build a house, right? If you put me somewhere in the middle of nowhere, at best I could make some kind of temporary shelter. But I do know the difference between a plumber and an electrician and a contractor. I know the difference between blueprints. I know the difference between an architect and an interior designer. I know that. In business, people don't. My big vision and the mission that I'm on is that that level of clarity is available to everyone who wants to start a business, who wants to turn a talent, hobby, skill, certification idea into money. That information is not available now in the same way. Yeah, there's different ways to build houses, but we understand these are just different materials. It's a level of clarity that even if I can't build a house, I know who I need to hire, I know what kind of people need to help me, and I know the basic moving parts. And I'm never going to call a plumber and be like, but can't you just put the lights in? I'm never going to ask my web designer to be like, can't you just run my social media? To which they say, sure, why not? More money for me. Oh, no. They're not even malicious. They don't know. Nobody knows. And the stuff is so fast that without the foundational principles guiding you, it's almost impossible to keep up. You really do need entire teams. That's what the big companies have. Little guys don't have that kind of budget. They don't have that kind of bandwidth. And so the only answer you really have is understanding how this stuff works. When you do that, you know what to do and where to go and who to bring in and what to delegate to them and what not. Don't tell the plumber to do your wiring. And don't tell your social media person to build your website. And don't tell the Instagram expert to run your LinkedIn. They're going to mess it up. Even if they're not trying to, because they don't understand. They don't even know what they don't know. They're like, oh, I know Instagram, LinkedIn, that's also social media, right? Oh, where's the feed? What? Where's the page? But there's no what?
Well, and I hear you loud and clear, right? People looking in the wrong places, hiring the wrong people. It seems obvious in certain circumstances. Like I've talked to folks who, like end up consulting with me and they've got legal terms on their sites. And I ask them, where did these come from? Like, where did you get these? Like, oh, I had my web designer put them on there. Right. And I'm just like, what? That seems so obvious. And yet the number of times I've heard that one example is, does your web designer also practice law? Like, do they know the rules that you are supposed to be living by in your business? It is fascinating. And I think people do it to various extents. So on that point of like working with and hiring the right people for the right things, how do people do this better? Right. And I'm hearing you say, like, obviously a huge gap is business fundamentals.
Yeah, marketing fundamentals.
Yeah.
This is not something you have to be born with. You can learn this. It's a discipline. There are so many programs out there now, not just online, offline, anywhere, right? Training programs that give people a monetizable skill, right? You can learn to be a coach. You can learn to be a holistic practitioner. You can learn to be a chiropractor. You can go to school for tons of different things, right? Go to bookkeeping school. I don't know if there's school for bookkeeping, but like all these different skills or tools, or sometimes you're just born with it, right? Really talented organizers, bakers, right? You have something that can be monetized that other people would be happy to pay for. And then coming out of these programs that teach you this skill over a period of weeks to months to years, they're like, okay, now go make it a business. I'm sorry, making a business is its own skill. Yeah. Marketing is its own skill, and you don't have to do it yourself, but you have to understand it. All successful marketing is a stitching together of branding, marketing, and sales. Your brand is the essence that guides your marketing, that tells you what kind of marketing you're going to do. Your marketing includes your offer and the pricing and what you're selling and how you're getting attention. And then if you just do marketing, which is getting the attention, you still need to sell and you still need to close deals. All those three components stitched together. Your messaging for your sales comes from your branding. Right? And the more you do your marketing and get out there, the more it infuses and reinforces your brand. So I've created a visual graphic organizer that we use in all of our classes and with our clients, and it's a flower. And I've had one of my guys, who's one of our certified consultants, went through the program. He's like, Estie, I need something more manly for my clients. I didn't want to do the flower. It felt too girly. So I tried to make a baseball metaphor, but it didn't work. Your flower just really works. I'm like, thank you. You're welcome. I didn't make this by accident, and I'm one of the least girly girls I know. Very strongly feminine, but like holly feminine, not like flowers. But the flower just made sense because we're talking organic. Right? How do you grow something organically? How do you just make it so that you just pour some water on it, get some sunlight, and it works? And the flower was the best metaphor I could find that makes the thing make sense. The seed is your brand. That's your core brand. It's underground. Nobody sees it. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is not your name. Right? Those are just graphic and linguistic representations. Your brand is the essence of what's unique about you that serves your audience. And then you've got the center of the flower. That's the people. The stem that connects you is the problem you solve for them. Now, if you don't have a solid, unique value proposition, know who you're trying to sell to, and something that connects you that's a problem you're solving, you have no foundation. You got a dead flower. You can tape it and glue it and do all the things you want, but it will not grow, and you will have to put money on it and just tape more things to it to make it bigger. It will not grow by itself. And then we have all the petals, which are what I call the 6 P's of marketing. We have positioning, product, price, presence, which we changed over the years. It used to be place. We've switched it because, again, the principles work, but the world changes. And so place became presence now. And then we have promotion and process, which is sales process. And so this is what we used to help explain to our clients. The seed's underground, you plant it. This is your genesis. Those roots, those are all your branding elements. It's your brand story, and it's your vision and your mission. It's all. You will not find any element of marketing out there in the world that isn't somewhere on this flower. So it gives a place for everything. You know where it is. And then once you know even a little bit who you are, you figure out your people, what you're trying to do for them. Now you can build marketing. That flower shines its face to the sunshine, shines its face to the public. In that, it absorbs the light, it gets the feedback, builds the brand stronger. They reinforce each other. They're not the same. And sales is that end piece that pulls it together. Sometimes they'll get brought in by bigger companies because they become so diffuse. They've hired some branding agency that knows nothing about them. They've got a marketing department, a sales department that never talk to each other. They basically just got a ripped apart flowers just like flying everywhere. And they're like, well, we spend a few million on marketing and, you know, it's kind of working maybe, but we think we can do it better. Yeah, of course you can do it better. Of course you can do it better. Put it back together. Put it back together. Everyone, we need to talk to each other. You know, small business owners, I don't need you to do it. I don't need you to be salesy. I don't need you to do marketing. I don't need you to be on social media, not you. And you don't even have to hire somebody. Right? I don't need you to do there's no requirements except to follow the foundational principles that make all businesses work, which is have something unique and different to offer to a group of people who wants it and is willing to pay for it, present the right thing in the right way to them, and then know how to explain to them and close a deal and deliver. The end. That's inside every business. Everything else decoration. Get the core thing solid, and then we can decorate your business how you like. And you can hire and delegate to your heart's content. But if you don't know the basics, you can only go wrong hiring it out. Because one of two things will happen. There are no other options. Either you will hire wrong because the blind are leading the blind. You don't know and they don't know. And they're going to mess it up. And you may not even know they're messing it up. You're like, oh, well, you know, I've paid them a few $1,000s and they told me I just, you know, probably 10,000 more, a couple more months, something's going to work. And then maybe you're disappointed, maybe you're not, but nobody knows. You don't know, they don't, nobody knows. Okay, that's one option. The other option is you got lucky, they're really good and they really know what they're doing. And you cannot ever replace them because you have no idea how they do it. They own you now. You work for them. And whenever they ask you for more money, you got to pay it because you don't know how to replace them. You don't know how to find anybody like them. There is no other option. You either get it wrong or you get it, quote unquote, right. You're stuck either way. As soon as you understand it, A, you're much less likely to hire a moron who doesn't know what they're doing. And when you hire someone competent, you're overseeing them properly. And then if the relationship doesn't work at some point, it doesn't work and you hire somebody else to replace them. That little level of understanding how it works changes the game. I'm big on empowerment. It's just part of who I am. Stand in your own shoes, stand up straight, right? You provide value, you will receive value in return, usually often in the form of money. You'll be able to hire the right people so you don't have to do things you don't want to do. And the thing will just work. That is life. Same way when you get the right people to build a house, they will, and it will stand, and all the moving parts will be there. And you won't ask your interior designer to do your plumbing because that makes no sense. Oh, you can design websites? Could you also custom code this for me? Yeah, sure. Designer quickly hires team in India to build thing that never, ever, ever works from day one, but you keep funneling money into because someone keeps promising you it will. That's you asking your interior designer to do your plumbing. That's all.
Well, it still seems to me, and I know you have this model, it feels simple to you, but I know people listening are still experiencing the like, oh my gosh, it's still a lot of moving parts to get right, right? Where is there a place, aside from hiring the wrong people, where people are like the entrepreneurs that you're working with are taking a misstep? I mean, I'm even wondering how many people are stuck in coming up with the right offer, right? Something that has actual demand behind it. Where are you spending the most time working out kinks initially as you walk people through this process?
I would say I spend the most time on the foundation with people, because once we get the foundation right, the core brand, the problem we solve in the audience, the other pieces fall into place much easier. I find that people get very stuck in a few places. Firstly, in finding what is a real unique value proposition, especially when you get into some of the more glutted spaces.
Yeah.
So you've got a fitness trainer who lives in a neighborhood where there are 30 other fitness trainers and they don't have any idea how to stand out. You have a coach who's working online. In it, they're a bereavement coach, they're a life coach, they're a divorce coach, they're a business coach, they're something coach. In a planet where there are millions of coaches pitching the same people, what is the unique thing about you? How do you understand it? And then how do you communicate that? What's your messaging? But so many people try to make their quote unquote messaging without ever understanding what they're trying to message.
Yeah.
What's the thing you're trying to say that is unique about you, and why should someone else care? Now, who are the people? And I find that that's then the second piece. And to me, it all stitches together, right? Because if the thing that's unique about you doesn't solve a problem for someone who wants to pay for it, and there aren't at least a couple of those someones enough who want to pay or are willing or able to pay enough to keep you floating, you don't have a business, you have a very expensive hobby, which is often disappointing and frustrating, which is a shame, because the reality is there's more than enough business to go around, more than enough money for everybody, and you have something very valuable to contribute. And there's someone next door on the other side of town or the other side of the planet just waiting for you and looking for you, if you could only communicate this properly and know how to find them. And I find every time we unlock that, it works. That is the first unlock, because then I can just show you how do you do your promotion, how do you do it low cost or no cost or minimally, and then how do you scale it up, how do you close deals, how do you sell without being salesy, like all this. When I unlock this piece, so many people are like, well, I can do it for anybody. That's nice, but when you're everything for everyone, you're nothing for no one. I need you to picture a real person in your mind. If you can't, that's part of why this isn't working. If you can't design what we call an avatar, right? A target avatar is a design of a real human. If this isn't you yourself a couple of years ago or last week or still today, that you're, because we're always good at solving problems for others we can't solve for ourselves, right? If this isn't someone that you can really relate to, it's your friend, your neighbor, your sibling, your uncle, I don't care. Someone in the community, a group of, if you have never identified the basic person that this is for, and then we stereotype, because that's what marketers do, right? Racial profiling was a marketing discipline long before it was security. I made that up, might not be, but in marketing, it's still what everyone does every day. And it's not about just what you find in a sentence. Yes, you are looking at age and education and demographics and income status and race, ethnicity, religion, not to the point of exclusion, to the point of understanding. People come from different places, they live different lives, they have different internal programs and wiring and internal dialogue. You need to speak to your people in a language they can understand. And if you can't speak it, they can't understand you. So you're looking for the kind of person you can connect to. First, what are their externals? And then what are their internals? What's their psychographic? How do they think? How do they feel? What's their challenge? In our 3-day challenge, which I'll share with everyone at the end, free access to, we talk about the 2 a.m. problem. It's one of the most revolutionary concepts I've gotten so much feedback on. Because the 2 a.m. problem is what your ideal ideal target avatar, right? So we have the ideal and the less ideal. Your ideal avatar is laying awake in bed at night at 2 a.m. going, I don't know how to solve this. I don't know how to solve this. I haven't figured it out. I can't figure it out. And it's making them crazy. So like my avatar's 2 a.m. problem is they keep wasting money on marketing and they can't figure it out. They know they're wasting it. They don't know how to do it better. 2 a.m, they're lying. They're going, I have a dream. I have a dream for my life, for my family, for what I want to do. I have a dream for something I want to contribute to the world, and I cannot figure this out. I'm like, I got you. I got you. And it took me years to figure out the 2 a.m. problem. Now I can solve other people's, in a couple of weeks, but it took me years to figure out mine and then to figure out how to do that for others. And so I've done 12,500 hours of one-on-one business coaching in the last decade and a half. So I meet a lot of people like, oh, you're a business coach. Are you working at me too? I've been doing it 2 years. How about you? I'm like 15. Yeah, it's cool, right? Yeah, I know. I love it. It's been a minute. But figuring out who your person is so that you can communicate with them so you know where they are, because otherwise you're just spraying and praying and it doesn't work. Not anymore. It never really did. But if you have a big enough budget and you sprayed enough in enough places, something would come through. And when there was less competition and you were the only show in town, I get some clients, I would say most people come to me within their first 5 years in business. That's probably the majority, right? Because they haven't cracked the code. They're trying, it's not working. I do get a significant percentage, 10 to 20%, depending on the year, who've been in business 10, 20 years. And they used to have a thing that worked and now it doesn't. The competitive market changed. Some of them are brick and mortars. I work primarily with service businesses, but every once in a while I'll get a brick and mortar. They were literally the only show in town. There was no other store. And with building, competition with online, it was getting a little harder, but still. And then the second another store opens nearby, they're done. They had no competitive advantage other than I'm the only store here. And suddenly they need something more. Right? And the same goes for some of my service professionals. They were the show in town and someone came and showed them up. And now they're like, I don't have my thing. And they don't even realize what it is they lost. What they lost was their unique value proposition. Their unique value proposition was only show in town. That's what it was. If you don't have anything more than that, then as soon as you're not the only show in town, you lost it. Some people's thing is I'm the cheapest show in town, or I'm the most expensive. And then as soon as something cheaper or someone more pricey and gets away with it comes in, you lost it. And you need to know how to find that thing and then communicate it to the right people. There's always a way to come out above it. Always.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine that it's a bit of a journey, especially for those starting out, trying to figure out what is it that makes me unique? Because to some extent, you just have to do the work to sort that out, right?
And it's the work. Listen, sometimes you can figure it out yourself. Sometimes you need a guide. If you didn't, I wouldn't be in business this long. Right? I'm not the only person who does this. I'm one of the very few who does it in the small business space in a way that's affordable. There are very few of us. Most people, and the people have said to me so many times over the years, they're like, well, you're really good. Why are you still working with small businesses? Like I got that line a lot. I'm like, because I love them. And this is where lives change, right? Putting me at a multinational corporation, I haven't done that. Like that doesn't get me excited in the morning to wake up. But when I get a testimonial from someone who's like, I just bought a house for the first time and we have a stable home for our family now. When I get a message from someone who's like, I've just taken off to go traveling for the next 6 months because now I have the budget and I can work remotely thanks to you. And I'm in love with life. Now I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I did. Because that just feels like purpose to me. So there are people who can help. But part of it is, yes, you sit down and you think, what could it be? And then you test. At one point for me, I was having a bit of an identity crisis because I'd started my business in a very small community where I was, and then I kind of maxed it out in a way. Like I became very well known, and I was like, okay, now, okay, I hadn't saturated it, but I was like, more. I'm ready for more. And so I went from being a big fish in a little pond to being a medium-ish, smallish fish in a giant ocean. And I was like, who am I? What do I stand for? I don't know. Do all these new people care about what I have? Is what I offer even unique to them? Like, because I didn't know my people and I wasn't clear on my value, where I was coming from. I was clear. I had to get to know new people. I had to get to know new problems. I had to get to see. And so at one point, my essence is I can turn anything into money, and I help you earn more while doing less. You will earn more, you will spend less. Our tagline's always been more money, less headache. This is my essence, more for less. It's what I believe in. I'm an efficiency person. This is what I love. And listen, if you've got $1 million to burn, I know so many people who are happy to burn it for you. I'm not that person. I'm like, you call me when you've got $100,000, you need to stretch it like $1 million, or when you've got $10,000, $15,000, you need it to work like 50 or 100. Then I'm the person you call. When you've got $1 million and you can just burn it, I got lots of calls for you. Like, there's so many people who are good at that. They'll burn it and they'll make you feel good in the process. You'll be on a billboard somewhere. Look, I'm on a bill. It'll do nothing, okay, for your bottom line, but you'll feel great. They'll burn it for you. You'll feel fantastic. That's their specialty, not mine. Where was I going with this? There was a place I forgot. Oh yeah, I remember. Sorry. I remember. So I was having my identity crisis. And so instead of using my regular tagline, right, I help business owners earn more money with less headache. Because I'm like, what if people in the big ocean don't care about this? FYI, I figured out they do. I was like, who am I? What do I stand for? What am I about? This is probably going back like 6-7 years now, as we were starting to scale up. And I got this insight. I was like, oh my gosh, working with me is like a major paradigm shift, right? You think business is one thing and you think marketing is one thing. I had a guy call me yesterday. He's like, so Estie, what? Like, you help me find cheap advertising outlets? I'm like, no, I could, but that's so far. But like, just completely different perspective, right? Just like, because they have no knowledge of what the expansiveness of this is and how simple it is and how much more there is to that advertising. That is 1% of 10%. It's 10% of 10, so it's 1% of the whole. Right? There are 10 moving parts in a marketing strategy. 1/10 of that is advertising and promotion, and 1/10 of advertising and promotion is some kind of print ad or advertising outlet. So I could help you do that, but I might not need to, because your business might be full without it before we even touch that. It's a completely different way of operating. Anyway, so I'm like, paradigm shift. I change the way people see and understand themselves and their value and their business and their people and how they serve and how to communicate. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like putting on different glasses. And I was like, I'm brilliant. This is the smartest metaphor ever. And so I start getting on calls. I'm always on calls. And I start getting on calls with people, lead calls and networking calls. And they're like, oh, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm like wearing a new pair of glasses. I'm like testing out my metaphor. And people are like, you sell glasses? I thought you do business and marketing consulting. And like 5 people in a row were just so completely confused. I was like, oh, this doesn't work at all. And by the way, I do this all day. I was wrong. It lasted me a few days because I was so attached to my brilliant metaphor. I thought it was so cute. So it took me a couple of days and probably about a dozen phone calls for me to be like, oh, this doesn't work at all. So yeah, think, sit, iterate, get excited about something, test it. It flops, try something else. Because it has to land. You have to get out there and it has to land. And it can't land just where someone's like, oh, that's nice. So what are you doing for dinner? Like, it has to land where it opens a conversation, gets someone actually interested in your services for money. For money. I've gotten calls from people all the time. They can get people to take their services for free, but not for pay. Like, yeah, so once again, expensive hobby, not a business. Business has a value exchange where either cash or commensurate services are being offered. Or goods, right? There's a value exchange of goods and or services and or cash value is being exchanged. So whatever you're selling isn't landing on people as valuable enough to give an exchange for other than some of their time. And that's not enough for you to build a business. And so, yes, we go out there, we figure it out, we test it, we refine it until it makes sense and it lands. And it is a process. It does not happen immediately for anybody.
Well, and I'm so glad because I do think some people are surprised even by the challenge of that. They think like, oh, I've got an idea that I love, or people will love this, and there's a disconnect and they have to go sort through that. I love that you mentioned, I think 10 to 20% of your clients are more established, right? So those are folks that have been around a while, and there's either a shift in the marketplace, a shift in the demand, new competition in town, something happens and what was working is no longer working, or maybe what was working was never working quite as well as they wanted it to work. Like maybe there was that too.
But it didn't matter, right? So again, sometimes I'm like thinking through, I have like a mental Rolodex of my clients. Sometimes it's because of their own growth. Like I'm thinking of one of my clients was a SaaS, right? A software service. And they had had one core product and it was going so well, they added on another one and another one and another one. And then it was so confusing. They would get a potential client or customer for their software, and they didn't know how to pitch them or what to pitch them. And their salespeople were confused. Their branding became messy. So it was good, and it was their growth that messed them up in a way, right? So we refined the brand, refined the sales pitch, refined the path, and made it make sense. So sometimes the changes are internal. They're not even external. Nothing happened to them in the marketplace. It was their own business growth and expansion and adding on all these extra pieces that confused what they were. They didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And what they stood for. But yeah, sometimes expectations change and needs change also, right? So what you're earning sometimes, listen, I was living abroad for the first 4 or 5 years of my business and then moved to Los Angeles, where everything was 4 times as much money, everything. And that was a huge change because what I was earning abroad would maybe pay my rent for a few months. Like, it was not a whole different. I had to learn a whole new game. I had to learn a new country, and I had to get a completely different income level than I ever expected to have to earn in my life.
Yeah. Well, and it's such an important, I mean, I love that you point out, like, sometimes it's the external factors, sometimes it's the internal ones and internal growth or internal changes. Let's pretend that we're talking to some folks who are more established, who are thinking like, gosh, maybe I need to revisit this. What is the point that they reach out to you? Like, what is the conversation that they're having with themselves where they realize like something really needs to change?
So I'll tell you what's interesting. Most of the time, those people will reach out to a branding agency because they think they just need a rebrand. And I work closely with a lot of graphic design and branding agencies and marketing agencies who get clients who come to them for a strategy problem, not an execution problem. These are implementation agencies. They will make you the pretty thing, but you need an underlying strategy for that thing to work. And so very often, those clientele will come to me through another branding or marketing agency. They don't even realize they need strategy. They think they just need a rebrand. We've grown. It's time for us to update. Our previous marketing campaign isn't working. Let's get a new agency. The new agency is like, that's because nothing you're doing makes any sense.
Yeah.
And we're not here to make sense of it. We're here to make pretty things in campaigns. Call Estie. She'll make sense of it, then come back to us. We'll make you pretty things.
Oh man, I think you've just described, I mean, in your business and perspective, the problem that I think so many service providers face, which is people showing up like a potential client thinking like, oh, I just have this problem and it looks like this, right? Or they've identified something as a problem that's not really the real problem.
This is every industry. I remember interviewing a podiatrist on my podcast, and I think I was explaining one of these principles in marketing. And he's like, Estie, this exact people come to us and they'll first go to a shoulder doctor because they think it's a shoulder, but it's a foot issue. And so I forgot what they're called, the shoulder doctors, will refer them to the podiatrist, or they'll come to the podiatrist for something that's really a back issue or a hip issue, and it's not in the foot, but their foot's hurting because their hip's out. So business is not different. Marketing is not, none of these disciplines are different. The pieces all work together. If your marketing is not working, it's either incomplete or misaligned. There are no other options. You're either missing a piece that you just don't have, or you've somehow gotten misaligned over the years where the branding, marketing, sales are not lining up. Your offer is not the right amount for your people. The messaging isn't matching the closing. Something is mismatched. You have all the parts, but something's mismatched. Those are the only 2 things that could be wrong with it, right? We do a lot of audits. We show you, you're either missing these, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize I needed that piece. Or, oh, I used to have that piece and I got rid of it. Or, oh, you mean we can't try to have a really high-end brand, but then do a low-ticket offer because someone said we should do a low-ticket funnel? Right, no, don't do that. It makes no sense. You're messing the thing up. No, because then you just listen. The spoon is not the recipe. Yeah. I was like, I got this really good new spoon and I used it to mix my soup and it was delicious. That's adorable. That's a spoon.
Yes. Oh, I was talking with a friend in business who is like, her clients are like million plus in revenue a year, like a little bit more established for the small business, like solo shops, right? But she was looking to target them through like a free challenge, right? And we were talking about, Is this what they're spending their
That's,
time doing? No,
that's not, they're
it's
not going to do that.
but it was like just so many people in her circles were like challenges, challenges, challenges. And this is where I think it's so important for people to like sit back and take a breath, because so often they are choosing like these little isolated tactics or strategies and, looking at parts and pieces, and they really don't have the whole.
It's totally misaligned. It
Yes.
doesn't work. And then you sit there and you're like, but I did it just like the other person. I met a guy at a networking event over the weekend, and he's trying to launch a production. It was like a Hollywoody kind of people in the industry, as they say. And he's launching like a small film thing that he made. And he's like looking for guerrilla marketing strategies. And he's like, well, this person did pop-up shops. I think I'm going to do that. I'm like, but why? Why did they do what about their pop-ups worked? I don't know. They just did pop-ups. I'm going to do pop-ups. That's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Why did they do what about their pop-ups work? Where did they do it? When did they do it? What was happening at the pop-ups?
Yes.
The details. He's just going to go hire a company. They're going to run these little pop-up things for him. He's going to spend $20, $30, $50,000, and he's going to do listen, he might get lucky. Most likely it'll do nothing. And the company, they don't care. They're experts in running pop-ups. He has hired them. It is not their job to figure out if it's going to earn him anything. They make no promises. He's convinced because the competitor did it. This to me is the biggest problem in small business marketing. It's the copycat. Monkey see, monkey do. This is not how it works, right? I have this metaphor that I made up, and I feel like explains it. So imagine it's this hot summer day. Right? I live in LA. Yes, hot summer day. You're walking down the street and you see this little snow cone stand on the corner, and it's a line like around the block to buy these snow cones. You're like, all right, there's more than enough business to go around. I'm going to open another one right across the street. So you go and you open your own little snow cone stand, block away. Crickets. Nobody's coming to you. They're all by the other guy. Why? You thought he was selling snow cones. Those are icebergs. You saw the tippity top thing. You have no idea why people are standing there. All you saw was the snow cone. You know nothing about what's actually making that thing work. And this has been true for marketing for the 15 years I'm doing it. It used to be that logos were the big deal or print ads. Now it's the digital stuff, right? So everyone needs a sales funnel. They need to get on all the social platforms. That's been growing for a while. They, again, so if we go in decades, right? When I started this probably a decade and a half ago, it was the logo and the branding. That was the thing. Everyone needed the right logo. It was such a big deal. And a lot of people were doing print ads or flyering like that because digital was being born still, right? Facebook was still a baby, could like rocket in a cradle. And then it became socials and web. And they kind of like kept teetering, like it was socials, it was web, socials, it was web. I was like, I need web and I need socials. And I need, so like, every 6 months or so, it would like push ahead. And now it's just the whole world of digital, plus sales funnels, plus online programs. And all we do is layer these tactics, monkey see, monkey do. And if you have the foundational strategy, you can add on whatever you want. We have a strategy for social media. We launched a TikTok just for fun. I did it for a month, a couple of years ago. Our first post, 1,000 views, 500 likes, 100 followers in the first few hours. Now, because I studied TikTok, because I know social media, because I understand algorithms, I don't need to hire a TikTok team. And I did bring in people who understood TikTok. Also, I brought in a 19 and a 21-year-old. I was like, show me the things that I don't know yet that are specific to TikTok. Now, let me layer what you know about TikTok with what I know about social media marketing. Now we have magic. So then all I need to learn is the details. This is not a new thing. Social media are social mediums of communication. They operate the same principles. So when you understand foundational principles of marketing, all you need to learn is like, it's the cake decoration. It's the little icing on top. So yeah, you need to learn the slightly new flavor. That's not a lot. The foundational stuff works everywhere, every time.
Well, there's so much that I love about your description of, first of all, what the marketplace does to people, right? It feels a little like schizophrenia, like over here, do this, up, down, sideways. And to me, what it sounds like is much more of like less of the outside in strategy and more of the inside out, right? Knowing who you're for, what you're about, what you're doing, where you're headed, and really designing it not based on what you're hearing from the marketplace, but like you said, understanding fundamentals and making a strategy that is a fit for you, for your business. And,
Absolutely.
you know, what everybody else is doing over there is not necessarily.
Suggestions. I had a woman on the phone the other day. So when people are getting started, they get stuck on the marketing usually, right? If you can't break $100,000, marketing is the thing that's breaking you, right? So we fixed that. Once people start getting into like the upper 5 figures and even the low 6 figures, if they're a one-person show or they've got one assistant, the systems start getting to them, right? And if they start really being successful and they're breaking 6 figures or multiple 6 figures and they never crack the systems code, I was a systems and operations manager. I've come in as a fractional COO. We'll do systems first for them. And so when she's already like, you know, nearing the 6 figures and she needs her systems done because now she wants to scale up. And so get on the phone. She's like, I'm being courted by 3 different, you know, funnel companies. Like, first of all 3 of those funnel companies are white labeling the exact same foundational software. I know it because that's what everyone's white labeling right now. So I didn't even have to hear their names. I was like, they're all white labeling high level. Done, finished, done, next. And you might not need any of them. She's like, what? I'm just trying to figure out which one to go with. I'm like, you might need none. Why do you need that? Well, because I think, and what's the plan for that? And we're just missing all the pieces. No, none of those people are wrong. And all the people who are building businesses on the back of high level, power to them. I'm so happy. Amazing. Go for it. There's so many people you can help. And for those of you thinking to purchase any of these services, get really clear on your goals and your needs. Don't just be like, well, I'm drowning here. This isn't working. This person looks like a little lifesaver. I'm gonna hold on, see if I get to shore. That's not how it works.
Yeah, no,
How it works. So it's in everything. It's not just marketing. Understand your needs, understand the marketplace, understand the tools that are available. If you don't get it, hire someone. Again, I'm not the only person like this. Hire someone who can help guide you to make the right decisions, who isn't attached to any one tool or service. Get an objective voice.
yeah.
All the subjective voices are just going to sell you their shiny object. You need an objective voice to help you choose which shiny or less shiny object is going to serve you the best.
Oh, it's exactly what I walk clients through when I talk about their business from the standpoint of a legal map. Like, nobody's ever just given you the legal map to your business. Here, let me give it to you, right? And I've got free resources that do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, from that point, you will make better decisions when you understand, whether you work with me, whether you go somewhere else in the marketplace. And I'm happy and very willing to talk with people about other options in the marketplace and where certain things might make sense, and where budgetarily, if they are working within a limit, like what could they do, right, for their business within that. So I think that, you know, the educate first approach, which it sounds like you probably do a fair amount of, right? So that people are understanding where their decision making is really breaking down. Because so often I see people, it's not even necessarily a wrong strategy, but it's an out of order strategy.
The
like
non-strategy.
Yeah, or like
people call tactics strategies. Like, I have a marketing strategy. It's called post things on Instagram. That's a tactic. That's not a strategy.
That's right.
You've learned how to make a right turn only. You're trying to get from here to there. All you've learned is how to make a right turn. You're like, why am I going in circles? I have no idea. Maybe because you only learned how to make a right turn. One tool is not the answer.
Right. Well, and this is it. One tool, even one expert, one whatever. Like, I think so many people are, like you said, looking for that solution, trying to hook onto it. And it's like, no, you have to back up. You have to get the other stuff right. That stuff is not going to matter if your messaging is wrong, your offer is wrong, the language that you're using to talk to your clients.
And all those people, they have amazing testimonials, right? So I say there are 4 different kinds of marketers. And this is all, you'll probably relate to this in the legal space as well, because it's really in all kind of expert help, but in marketing, it's easy for me to demonstrate it. So you have, I call them the Megs. And just know which one of the Megs you're dealing with is already a good beginning. So M stands for morons. They're not malicious. They're just clueless, right? They saw some TikTok somewhere where some girl is like, oh my God, 110K a month, being a social media manager, just go on Upwork, charge $1,000 a person, and social media manager, get 10 clients, you're welcome. And so they do that and you hire them and nobody has a clue. Okay. Those are morons. They took a 1-week course on Google Maps. Now they're a Google Maps marketing expert. They just don't even have a clue. They mean well. They're just trying to build their own business and help you. Clueless, completely. Okay. Morons. Amazing. We can hire them when you're really competent. They're cheap. You can hire them. They're inexpensive. You can boss them around, direct them well. They can work. None of these people are people not to hire. It's just knowing who to hire when and how to delegate. So those are morons. Then you have experts of industry. These are people who do marketing for chiropractors, marketing for authors, marketing for coaches and consultants, marketing for pianists. I don't care. Okay. They typically are a former chiropractor, author, pianist themselves who has cracked the marketing code and will show you exactly what worked for them because it'll work for you. Maybe. If you are just like them with the same problem and the same audience and the same solution, the similar issues and the same assets and abilities. I once had a chiropractor who was doing one of these marketing for chiropractor things. He was in LA. The service he was getting was in like Nowhereville, Nebraska. And it was such a mismatch because it was marketing for a completely different kind of audience. It was one of these like marketing experts for chiropractors. Yeah, chiropractors in the Midwest. It's completely different. So much money down the drain. Those are experts of industry. If you are really an exact match to them, they're fabulous. Follow their path. They don't know all of marketing. They cracked one path. That one path works for you. Great. That's where their testimonials come from. Everybody else just falls off the rails. And they wonder why, because, well, this guy was successful. Must be me. No, must be you are not just like the expert. That's the E. G is genius tacticians. I love the Gs. They're amazing. Partner with them all the time because they know one thing really well. They will show you Instagram. They will show you influencer marketing. They will show you Facebook groups or Facebook ads, direct ROI, sales closing, LinkedIn management. They will show you a really good tactic. They have the best spoon or the really good magic spice that makes most recipes taste great. You're supposed to know how to make the food part, okay? But they have this like magic ingredient where if your other stuff is set up, yeah, if you pour on the magic spice but you never turn the fire on, it's not gonna work. Okay, so they have this thing that when you add it to something that's already working well, it's amazing. They're not strategists. The S is strategists. I'm a strategist. There are others. If you are not a strategist and you've never made a proper strategy, which is the whole picture, you're going to want to have that before you get anybody else in. And then hire to your heart's content. I don't need you to do it. I just need to understand how it works. I get so much resistance from business owners like, well, I just want to hire it out. No problem. But you have to know it or you can lose one of two ways.
Yes.
Either way, how would you like to lose today?
That's right. No, this is it. And it's exactly the reason, from my perspective, I give away the map. I tell people their options because they're afraid of being bamboozled. They're afraid of hiring and working with the wrong people. But it means you have to be willing to learn enough about the topic that you know how to lead on that topic. You know how to hire, you know how to make decisions. So I hear you loud and clear. Out of respect for your time, I feel like there's obviously a lot in this bucket that we could be talking about on the business building path. I would love to know a couple things. One, what's coming next for you? Talk to us a little bit, what's coming down the pipeline.
Sure. So we have our consulting firm, we have our business school, and the next big thing is we are now certifying other marketing consultants. So we've already done that under our own firm, right? Taking people in, certified them in the methods, and they've worked with our clients. We've already taught small business owners and other marketers in the business school. This is a way for me to help give other people a significant income boost and serve so many more small businesses that me and my team don't have the bandwidth or even the expertise for. Like one of our CMCs is an expert in e-commerce. I'm not an e-commerce expert. I'm a strategy expert, but teaching an e-commerce expert my marketing strategy next leveled him and jumped his income multiple 6 figures within 6 months. So that's what's next for me is that like win-win exponentially, getting other coaches and consultants out there in their own space to raise their income and their influence and their impact.
Oh, amazing. I love it when experts get to the point of getting their work out there in bigger ways that, again, serves more people, right? It sounds like those fundamentals to specific subgroups, specific industries, wherever it wants to go. For people that are listening and that are like, oh my gosh, maybe that sounds amazing. Maybe your build the better business school, right? They're like, maybe I should be in that. Where can people learn more about you and about your services, what you're up to in the world?
So I would always recommend getting a free gift because I like free gifts. I'm that person. I don't mind free presents as long as they're useful. This is useful. If you go to estiestarr.com/free gift, ESTIESTARR.com/free gift, which I don't need to spell for you. FREEGIFT. Okay, good. estiestarr.com/free gift, you will see a 3-day marketing success challenge. That is what's there right now. Temporarily, we took the paywall off it. So you can access it for free. Before that, there was something else that now has a paywall. So we rotate. If you go to estiestarr.com/free gift, there'll always be a free gift for you. And at the moment, it's a 3-day marketing success challenge just to give you the basics, the basic overview, and give you clarity and confidence how to market yourself successfully. Just like a little more about what we've talked about, a little more expansion on sales pitch and core brand and how to get out there and what kind of low cost and free promotion you have access to as an individual anywhere on this planet. Just some of the more foundational concepts and how everything intertwines. So I'll start there.
Love it. And is that something that people can do virtually? Is it through email? Do they need to be showing
it's virtual.
up?
So there's pre-recorded trainings, which are me, and we deliver it via email. So you sign in, then you land on a little video of me talking. I think I had some braids in my hair at the time. I was like heavy in my Mexico phase. I'm a little lighter now. I had like my shell necklace and like my braids for my Mexico trips. It's still me. It's still me. There's so many versions of Estie on the internet. It's fun. There's a straight-haired one. There's a straight-haired one that's still wearing the same glasses. People are like, that's not you, is it? I'm like, same glasses. Look
at this. It is.
not even that long ago.
The straight hair
I need to
looks
update my
like
prescription. But yeah, videos, and then we send you an email every day that gives you access to the next day's training.
Nice.
And you'll be all set. Do it on your own time at your own pace.
Folks, if you're listening, we are going to share Estie's link, including to her, links with an S to her 3-day challenge, her marketing success challenge, to your upcoming program, if that's a link that you want to share, Estie, as well as your, do you show up on social media? Would you like us
to? We've put social media on pause at the moment. But I am there. You can follow me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I think the last time I checked Facebook was 2-3 years ago. Didn't even check in for my birthday the last 2 years. So you can follow me there, but I'll never see you. But Instagram, we monitor occasionally, and I will be coming back within the year. But we're working on so many things internally.
Yeah.
And with partners and with our clients and our students. So if you go to the Marketing Success Challenge, you're on my email list. I am in communication with my email list. And then I'll show back up on social soon. Like I have a plan, but we do things I'm a strategist. So I do things in pieces, and I'm not going to, because I went off social for personal reasons during my divorce a couple of years ago. And I was like, this is working for me being off of here.
Right. That's like one of my main life goals. Yes, I know.
Yeah. So, I did it by default. I didn't mean to, but once it was done, I was like, I'm happy here and I'm not going back till I'm good and ready.
Well, it's good. It's why I like to ask. I asked a gentleman a couple interviews ago. So, are you on social media? Do you like for people to connect there? And he was like, no, I do not like for people to connect with me there. I was like, great. This is why I ask. Where would you like to send them? So that's great. If you are listening, be sure to jump in, get access to her 3-day marketing success challenge. You can watch. Maybe she'll be back on social media, but
she will eventually.
Yeah,
we're going to reboot the podcast and all the things, right? So you can also check out the Business Breakthrough podcast, a few hundred episodes after doing it for a bunch of years.
Yeah,
I did it for 4.5 years.
Totally. So we'll share a link over to your podcast. It sounds like you are resource rich, and so I'm excited for people to go explore some of what you've put together and what's kind of coming their way. Any final thoughts or tips, or just like go do this one thing kind of advice that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, here's my final advice. I started my business with a dream that no one believed in but me. All right. I was in my 20s, and that's before every 20-year-old was a business consultant. Okay. This is 15 years ago. I'm a minute older than I look. And I was discouraged, but I had a dream. And when I started, I had this dream of building a full service consulting firm. But when I started, I was just a freelancing coach. That's all I was in essence. But I never lost sight of my dream. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they laid a brick every day. So just keep going. If you keep going, you will get there. There'll be twists and turns that you never dreamed of. But if you don't give up, you will get there. And when you shoot for the moon, you do reach the stars. Keep going. And I've seen this not just for myself, hundreds of clients, thousands of students. The only way you lose is if you give up. Nothing can ever give up on you. You only lose your dream if you give it up. So if you want it, just don't give it up. Just keep going. The resources will present themselves. The path will present itself. Take advantage of whatever shows up that makes sense to you in terms of guidance. I've always had a coach. I've always had a guide. Get a guide. Get the best guide you can afford.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Keep
that.
going.
I love that so much. I mean, obviously, the podcast is called Guts, Grit, and Great Business, and I launched at a time where I just wanted people to keep going. I knew that small businesses were going to be impacted. So this was pre-pandemic, like immediately pre-pandemic. So thank you so much, Estie, for joining us today. That was, I will just call it a word-packed hour. Folks, if you're listening, I hope you are really good at listening to fast talkers. Estie packed it in, and there's a ton of value in there. Thank you, Estie. I loved hearing about your paradigm, a bit about your journey, and I really look forward to people popping over and connecting with you on your email list. Appreciate you.
Oh.